Okay, so we are in for a very special treat. I have to tell you, Liba Tzippi and I have a little bit of nachas from Esther. She was on our original pilot program for our curriculum. And if I can tell you what a phenomenal job she did and all of the meetings she was on and helping us make the curriculum better with edits and feedback, and just I have to tell you, she's done an incredible job, and she's an incredible teacher. So, Esther, it is all yours.
Full admission. You're all taking away my introduction, so you have to let me speak. Okay. Full admission. Whenever I heard about the Amatz, Florida retreat, I drooled. I wished that I could be a principal for those 2 days, right? Not too many people have the capabilities that principals do, nor can make the sacrifices that you do every day. But it seems to me that this is most probably one of the most fun perks of the job. So, I thank Hashem that this year I'm a part of it. And a shout out to Amatz and its founders, Mrs. Schwabel, Mrs. Weiss, and Mrs. Reifer, for doing more than we can imagine. And I have to say Mrs. Goldberg too, because of what she went through with my flights, so we have to give her a shout out for that. So I thank you for giving me this opportunity and for the added dimension that Jay Schmitzes has given me for the last 5 years. You invested in me so much that I hope that today's presentation is, like you said, nachas for you. As I was preparing, I was thinking about how I got here. When I started teaching, I was about 4 years older than my students. And based on my experience with young teachers, I decided from the get-go that my modus operandi is going to be don't fight them, join them. I was going to be with them in it. And so, because of that, my whole classroom atmosphere ended up being one that was very comfortable with a lot of give and take, and my students started asking me all sorts of questions. So I taught Masehu Ego. That was one of the first things that I taught. And my students wanted to know, how are the stories in the Torah true? If Hashem gave the Torah before Maaseh Egel even happened, right? Was it a prophecy? And if it happened, if Hashem wrote about it before it even happened, then how did they have Bechira, right? Well, how does this work? And how can the Torah demand capital punishment? Isn't that very cruel? So though I didn't know the answers, I was very committed and determined to find out. About 3 years into my teaching career, Hashem sent a handbook my way. It was from the AJAP convention in Baltimore, and it was titled, The Top 10 Questions That Your Students Have. It was culled from a survey that was done in about approximately 25 high schools, Beis Yaakov schools, and they basically sort of made informal settings, and they got the girls to share what's on their mind, and they put it together in that handbook. The top question, what's wrong with talking to boys? 1,327 girls asked that question, and the year was 2006. That was way before technology and all of the problems that we're dealing with today. So of course, when I got that handbook and I read it, and I realized that not only are there answers to all the questions that the girls have, but there are many different approaches to all the questions that the girls have. And this became sort of my focus. Like when a girl asked a question, I was always very committed and determined to find out and do the research and call and so on and so forth. So at one point, I reached out to Rabbi Mechanic of Project Chazon fame, and I had a whole conversation with him about what the girls want to know and what are the questions that came up in my classroom and answers and so on. And he connected me with Rabbi Saperman from the Ani Mammon Foundation. I got all the CDs. I got CDs from Rabbi Mechanic. I got CDs from Rabbi Saperman. I listened to all of them. I wrote notes, and I started, thanks to my principal, Mrs. Leah Fogel, who was really my mentor in Chinuch. I call her. I still keep up with her today. So she very much encouraged me to integrate a lot of what I learned into my lessons that I was teaching. And eventually, in a different school, I taught it as a standalone subject. Then in 2014, my principal then, Mrs. Malki Weichbrot, she asked me to transition to the Kivon program. So that was by Rebbetzin Leah Cohn from the Jewish Renaissance Center. So she sent me for training, and I started teaching that. And my next principal, who I won't call former because I still consider her my principal today, Mrs. Appel, who's sitting in the audience here, she introduced me to Amatz. And she actually encouraged me to be a part of the Shai Schmitz's pilot program, and she stood by me all throughout this time. So my being here today is thanks to your continued support. And lastly, I'm humbled to stand before such an esteemed crowd and group of principals, many of whom I personally gained so much from. I've listened to you at past conventions from Amatz and retreats and so on, and I've gained tremendously as a teacher and as a person. So this is what we're going to be doing today. What I'm going to do, I'm going to teach you a segment of Shei Shmitzes the way I do it in the classroom. I'm going to call you girls. I hope you're okay with that. No offense. I just want to, we can be girls forever, and it's just my comfort zone. So anything that I'm going to say, I'm not trying to preach to you. I'm just doing what I'm doing in the classroom so that you can get a feel of what it is to learn Sheish Mitzvahs. And then, Emiyat Hashem, after we're done, I'll take a few minutes to wrap it up and explain what I did, why I did, and if you have any questions. Okay, so for starters, here's my driving question. And let me see if I can do this, because this I don't have to do in the classroom. So what soundbite can I think of that will explain, clarify, sum up any one aspect of Gava? Okay? When we say soundbite, a soundbite is a short, memorable phrase that captures the essence of the message, very often used in politics and media and so on. So that's our driving question. Okay, so last time we looked a little bit at the concept of minas, right, and why Gava is referred to as minas in today's generation. So we're going to be looking at the two aspects of Gava. Okay, so this is sheet you have. You have a 3 sheets. Okay, so this is a chart just to make it clearer. Okay, so we have 2 kinds of Gava, and if you look at the back of the sheet of the chart, you have the infographic chart. Okay, so can anybody tell me? Just use my pop sticks. We're going to be doing the pop sticks, which you're familiar with, okay? And the way I work it is okay, so Mrs. Chaya Weiss, can you tell us what is the first kind of Gava on the infographic sheet? I'm sorry, I don't know you. I would know my students, but yes. Yes, so what's the first one? You have it on your infographic sheet. Okay, all of you have the back of your chart, right? This sheet, the back of your chart, you have Gava, and it says 2 kinds of Gava. So what's the first one? Thank you. Okay, so denying that Hashem's will is central, okay, and that we seek approval because we're denying that Hashem's will is central. So that would go into the first thing of your chart. It's not working. Yeah, seeking approval from others. Okay. So now, what would be the second form of Gava? Rebbitzin, Fegi, Tversky. What would be the second form of Gava from your chart? I'm sorry. It's girls. It's the pop stick system. It's a random system. I don't pick on anybody. I just pull out a pop stick, and I expect you to find the answer. Yes. Okay, so we think that we are the sole reason for our success, right? And we take credit for all of our successes. So that would be going into the second column of your chart, right? Okay? We take credit for all our accomplishments. Okay? Now, we have different relationships in our life. When a person is full of gava, it automatically comes between him and other relationships that we have. So what are categories of relationships that we have in our lives? Can anybody volunteer? Okay, family. So I would say with others. Okay, and what becomes before others even? Okay, what's the first one? What's the most? With Hashem. Thank you. That's the most important one. So, obviously, okay, so that goes into our next thing. Okay, so it's going to separate us between us and Hashem, obviously, because if we are so full of gava, then we don't have Hashem in our life. We're believing that we are so important and we can't even, and we're taking credit for everything that's happening. So, where's Hashem in the picture? He's not. We're looking at ourselves all the time and we're trying to get ourselves to be so important and to seek recognition and so on and so forth. So Hashem is out of the picture, and in the same way, we have a disconnect between the relationship with people, because if we are constantly busy with seeking our own recognition, our own kavod, our own status, and so on, then we cannot think about others. We're only thinking about ourselves and how else could I get the kavod and the approval and so on that I am seeking all the time. And also, if we are taking credit, right, for everything that we do, then why does that take away with our relationship with people? And I'll ask for a volunteer. If we are taking credit for everything that we do, so when I do something, it's my credit. What's happening with others in this picture? There, I'm not hearing you. They're less than, right? And we not just they're less than, we can't even see what they're contributing to our success. Because all that we're doing is we're thinking about ourselves and how hard I worked and how much effort I put in. So we don't even have space to look at others and say, look how much they contributed to what I was able to do. Okay, so next we have two itis, right? Two different ideas, or Chazal will say it's really from Pirkei Avos, that we have to fight gava. Okay, so the first one is misrachik min hakavod, right? As we say in Pirkei Avos, you have to run away from kavod. We cannot stand there and seek approval all the time. We have to run away from it, and we'll discuss that a little bit more soon. Okay, and the next one, okay, is einay machzik toiva la'atzmai, and you can fill that into your chart. A person should not be taking credit for themselves for what he does and all the accomplishments that he has in his life. Okay, so because of that, because we have these, I forgot one of the most main things. I didn't say the center, right? Has a double vase, right? It's a double vase because we have two types of gava. It creates a distance and a disconnect between two types of relationships. And for those two types of gava, we have two itis to stay away from it, and because of that, they also warn us a double warning. As Huda Kafila, we have a double warning, okay, which is Ma'id, right? Ma'id, Havesh Fal Riach. It's saying Ma'id. It's saying double. Ma'id, very, very. For the first type of gava and for the second type of gava, because we're talking about two types of gava. Okay, so that basically gives us a picture of what we're talking about when it comes to the concept of gava, the two gavas, and how we're supposed to work with it. Now, let's take the first type of gava, which is seeking approval from others. Now, if you take a look at your next sheet, okay, you'll have a sheet, and it has some questions, and here's how we're going to work this. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to take a look at that sheet and answer those questions. I'm also then going to group you into groups based on the pop stick system. I'm just going to call names, group you into, we're going to be doing 6 groups, and you will switch seats. And then what we're going to do is a one-sentence summary, okay? The one-sentence summary is as follows. You are going to take your sheets with you, and you are going to make your group, And all of you, you will start from question 2, okay? When you do your sheet, you're doing question 1. When you start with a one-sentence summary, you'll start from question 2. You'll take one girl in the group that's going to be the facilitator. She's going to make sure that you keep moving through the questions and that everybody gets a turn to answer. So how this works is, you each share your answer to the question, let's say number 2 and number 3. You each share your answer, and then you decide for each question, based on what you've all shared and discussed, one answer that's going to be the answer for your group. Okay? That you do that for number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So everybody shares their answer, you discuss it, you come up with one that you all agree is a good answer for this question, and you jot that down. And then we will review it, okay? We will go through it. So I'm giving you the 2 minutes, and while you're working on answering these questions, I am going to be forming the groups. Okay? So, I'm sorry. No, you're first doing it yourself. I don't want you to discuss it, and I'm going to put you into groups, and you're going to be switching tables. It's a random thing. I just do the pop stick system. I pull out the names, and that's how we work it. So if you want to give me a minute, I'm going to just call out the names so that you know which group you are. I'm going to say the number, okay, so that you have it. So group 1 is Mrs. Rivki Steyer. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your names right. Mrs. Toby Radziminski, Mrs. Siri Bennett, Mrs. Hana Kashi, Mrs. Devari Shimonovich, Mrs. Tippi Reifer, and Mrs. Bela Dresner. Okay, that's group 1. Mrs. Liba Schwebel, that's group 2. Mrs. Esther Pollack, Mrs. Manucha Levine, Mrs. Rachelsuri Lowy. I'm going to put it on the table. So I should do it. So let's do it like that. I have this group 1. Okay, so whoever's table 1, this is your table. You can bring your sheets. This is your table. Okay. So group 2. Should I start reading those names again? Okay, Mrs. Manucha Levine, Mrs. Esther Pollack, Mrs. Liba Schwebel, Mrs. Rachelsuri Lowy, Mrs. Rivki Breuer, Rebbitzin Fagi Torsky, and Fagi Goldberg. You are group 2, so that's your table. Okay. Okay, Mrs. Chaya Weiss, Mrs. Freddie Mary Appel, Mrs. Malki Neishlos, Mrs. Freddie Berkowitz, Mrs. Tehila Stelzer, Mrs. Freddie Torsky, Mrs. Gitti Lichtman, and Mrs. Bruchi Eckstein. You are group 3. Okay, so that's the next table. Okay, girls. Yep, that's table 3. Okay, Mrs. Rena what's her name? Zeriker, Mrs. Rena Zeriker, Mrs. Nechama Katz, Mrs. Leah Abergel, Mrs. Fagi Miltz, Mrs. Adina Ribikoff, Mrs. Chana Rab, and Mrs. Roizi Shatskis. You are group 4. Group 4. I'm sorry, I'm making you play musical chairs. Mrs. Leah Reese, Mrs. Chaya Leah Edelman, Mrs. Shira Goldbaum, Mrs. Bashi Friedman, Mrs. Chaya Hausman, Mrs. Hadassah Sprung, and Mrs. Esther Eisenberg, and Mrs. Malka Halpern. You are group 5. Group 5, you want to stay here? No problem. Group 5, okay, and then we have group 6. Okay, so I have Mrs. Rachel Levy, Mrs. Esti Goodstein, Mrs. Javi Sender, Mrs. Aliza Tenenbaum, Mrs. Devorah Sarfati, Miss Michelle Weiss, and Mrs. Rifki Greenbaum. You are group 6. Am I missing anybody? Am I missing anybody? I'm not? Okay, group 6. Okay. Do you have a facilitator? Who is the facilitator? She just wants to watch, yes. Can you be the facilitator and make sure that we keep moving? Okay, I'm going to be circling. Do you have a facilitator, somebody that's making sure that you're moving? You want, no, we give her a break. She doesn't have to be the facilitator. Can somebody else be the, yes, she worked hard enough. Can you be the facilitator for this group to make sure that you keep moving through the questions? Yeah, okay, so then let her do it. Okay. No problem. Okay, so one of you, if you could please volunteer to be the facilitator. Thank you. Okay, do you have a facilitator in your group?
So what you do?
Oh, Mrs. Appels, do you have a facilitator? You figure it out between yourselves. One of you be the facilitator and make sure that we keep moving. You all voting? I'm going to figure it out. You want me to do the box stick system and choose a facilitator from your group? That's how we're going to do it. Just choose one. Okay. Do you have a facilitator? She's the facilitator. You're making sure that you're moving? Okay, you'll talk to me afterwards and we'll discuss how you know me. But just make sure you have a facilitator so that you keep moving, okay? And any questions, I'm circling. Okay. Do you have a facilitator?
What's made me?
We choose what?
I think everything. I think that everything.
Okay, so bottom line is
No, it's like it's more upstanding. Right, where your kids go to school, which school you send the kids. Everybody wants to do what everyone does. Everything.
Yeah, but I didn't circle that. Because the only thing whether my kid got in, that's where I said, whether it was an approval or not.
No, but you did
I have to apply for police chase. My son doesn't know about it. It was on our house.
I don't think getting for someone's approval means I have ego. I want to know what's the best part that I'm not looking for a fancy car. I'm looking for a holiday car.
But when you make a simcha,
Consider others
That's different.
Getting your mother's approval.
No, I keep it. Wait, you're saying
Others.
no, it's a little different. I would say simchas very, very much. I would say simchas. Like, could I be the...
No, I can't. No.
Yeah, the deal I would say is a very important.
No, that's great.
You know, even totally, you want everyone to think that you did a nice job, right?
Or simcha. Simcha.
Okay, so it's simple. I have a copy.
I have one that you all in agreement for number 10. Great, number 10. Okay, so now you need an example.
What example?
An example that proves whatever you chose. Whatever you chose.
Yeah, so I would say because when the Tikkun come out, the new Tikkun for the Simchas, it's very hard to
Did you number 2, number 3? Where are you up to?
Everything.
No, but that's fun. That's not real.
No, it's not
Because it's not real love.
So I,
Parents are doing things for their kids because they're seeking. Why are some parents killing themselves to host and host and host and get
No, that's
so you want us to say that we are not Oivet Hashem, we're Oivet people, we're redeeming people because we're not here in this world just to If Hashem would be avodim to Hashem, we would not care when anyone else.
It's not true because we still need judgment in this world. We still need judgment. It's true. If you don't judge someone else, you might not do the right thing. You see them and you say, hey, I don't like what they're doing. And your head loves to tell other people, but then you know what to do. I'm looking at
Hosting kids is a very good example. Hosting kids because most people, if they had to live on an island and they would have no one around them, they would not have these bungalows with 11 bedrooms and host kids and a whole Sunday and a whole Monday. They're all crying, they're crying. Hashem help you.
right here.
But again, we're talking about hosting kids, and I don't talk about hosting kids.
You always have to think, if I lived on an island, would I care to drive an old junky schmatter car? If I lived on an island, no one saw me, would I have to wear this clothing? If I
Good. Okay, so keep going and answer your question.
At the end of the day,
Okay, did you do number 2, number 3? Where are you up to? You're working on 4? Great.
The bar mitzvah stays the bar mitzvah, the wedding stays the wedding. The minute it's a small crowd, you don't need so many things. So obviously, there is a certain need for approval.
And it could be even like if you're hosting a Shabbos.
Okay, did you do number 2, number 3? You're up to number 4. Where are you up to?
We're arguing.
Good. Well, what are you arguing about? I like arguments. So yes. You're up to number 4. Or you're thinking of an example for number 3?
Yeah, we did number 3.
You did number 3. So you're up to number 4.
And now we're doing
So if you find an area in your life where you're not seeking approval, that's number 5. That's number 5. You missed 4, right? So 4 is, can you find an area of life that we don't seek approval? Whatever works with you. That's a personal thing.
I know what I'm doing.
Where are we up to? Number 4, number 5? Number 4 and number 5. Where are you up to?
We're like discussing everything.
You're discussing it, okay. Okay, so that's your number 2, and you have an example for number 3, like for Simchas, meaning you did that. Fine. So now number 4, is there any area of life where you don't seek approval? You're past that. Good. So you're up to 5. Come on, keep going. Is that, what are you doing, number 4, number 5? Yes. Sure. No, number 4 is not related. Any idea that you think that you do not need approval, that you feel in your life that in this area we are not seeking approval, and come up with a consensus. Right.
You know what this is? Some people, when they connect, get lost. They get lost. Not all.
Good, good.
I think it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. I don't think they're seeking approval. They go through that phase where they really connect. When they try to connect.
So I think there's some and some.
There was a girl in
There are some and some. Some girls really have that connection and are developing it, and some are really trying to copy what their friends are doing because they want to be in vogue. Right? When we review, I'll tell you at the end what my students said about this. It was very interesting and very insightful. Yes. No, where are you up to? Most are up to number 5, so where are you up to? So 5, great. Okay. Okay, number 5, are we almost up to number 5? We're done? Full? Great.
Oh, we have to come up with one answer.
Oh, for sure you need balance. And we also have to understand, which I'll say to him, why are we seeking approval and how do we balance that out? We'll try to answer it, right? Okay, are you up to number 5 already?
Confused with 4 a little bit. We're
4? Okay, so let's move on.
Yeah, I would think that also was Shul.
Yeah.
It's very weird that
Okay, number 5, are we up to number 5 already?
Number 5.
Okay, great. So let's go number 5 and let's get number 5 and 6 done. You did number 5? Great. No, we're going to review it now. You're all done? Great, okay. So let's get everybody else on the same page. Okay, are we up to number 6? Because you're ready? Great, okay. How about you? Are you ready? Are you done? Great, this group is done. Okay, are you done? Where are you up to? Just finish up because we're going to start reviewing. Most girls are up to number 6. Are you done? Yeah. Great, okay, so we're ready to move on. Okay, so we're going to review this, okay? And what I'll be doing is I'll be going around to every group. We'll take the first question. I'm going to start with the second question. We'll take the second question, and whoever is the presenter, choose a presenter, or let's do a pop stick system. You know what? Right, so now I'm doing the pop stick system, meaning I'm going to call one of you from your group, and you're going to answer that question, okay? So the number 2, I'm just reading the question if you don't mind. Number 2, as we said, choose one of the above. So Mrs. Kashi, what did you choose for your group? Shh, girls, let's get everybody to listen. Shh. Oh.
No, could you pick on someone else?
No, it's fine. You can answer number 2. Just say number 2. Which thing did you choose? And then we'll choose somebody else. Number 2. Number 2 on your sheet. You chose Simchas. Great. Okay. Mrs. Siri Bennett, can you tell me number 3? Give me an example for that. What did you say? What was the example?
The example was my mother always tells us kids that when she got married, she did her own hair and her own makeup when she was the kala, and she looked beautiful. Yeah, she looked beautiful. But today, when your little girls are getting their hair done for a chasana, even for a first cousin's chasana, it's $200 for an updo and it's another $150 for makeup. The day of the wedding costs.
Ladies, if you're going to listen to us, we'll listen to you.
So really, it could be, if the norm would be that when you have a first cousin's chasana, the girl does her, the mother just does her hair like we used to do with a cute pin and a thing, and the girls would feel beautiful. And even the Kala's sisters and whatever do not need a full face of makeup that costs like, I don't know, crazy amounts. And the hair also, I don't know, the prices went up like crazy.
Girls, I love this example, and I want to share a story that's a true story that I heard. Those of you, at least, that live in the New York area know that when you call up a makeup artist and you tell them, or somebody that does the hair, and you say, I have a kala, so automatically the price is way, way higher. We're talking numbers, I don't know, 3,000 or more for the kala, and okay. So there was this family that was very, very smart, and they called up this makeup artist, and or maybe she also did hair, and they told her that we have, I don't know, her number, let's say she required that you have 4 people or 5 people, whatever it was. We have so many people. Are you willing to come down? And she took the job. And then she came down to the house and she did all of them. And then she said, wait, is there a kala here? So they said, you did the kala already. So she said, but I don't understand. If I did the kala, I do a kala, I charge way more. So they said, what's the problem? Why do you have to charge more? The kala's happy. You did a great job on her. She doesn't need more. Anyway, she was so upset, this hairdresser, makeup artist. She took them to Dentaida. That she's allowed to charge more. Yes, that's a true story. If she's allowed to charge more because she did the kala, and you know what they told her? You took the job without knowing there's a kala. And the job was the same. What difference does it make? Okay, but since we're seeking, and I heard this from Akala herself, well, if you get a $3,000 job, then obviously your face is going to be so much better. Really? That's called seeking approval. Thank you. I like that example. That was a great example.
And then my mother always ends up saying that, she says it in Yiddish, that we're not so ugly that we need to paint ourselves up for thousands of dollars. Like, whatever. We have Yiddish, you put on some makeup. I mean, just to confess, I did get my face done for my son's weddings, Baruch Hashem.
So I'll say what I always say. We need balance, and we're going to be normal, but it's great to have the awareness, at least, of why we're doing what we're doing, okay? Instead of telling ourselves that, no, we really have a very great ideal over here, and we mean Hashem in this picture. Okay, let's take a look at yours, okay? So, Mrs. Rivki Boyer, can you share with me number 2? No, we're going to do the popsicle. So just say number 2 and then number 2. Enter number 2. Which one did you choose? Which one did you choose? You didn't choose number 2? Which one did you choose? So you decided. Okay. Number 2 and number 3. Can you tell? Yes.
Okay, I was in a store a few weeks ago, and the 2 women who looked like they were 95 years old, and one was trying on something. I don't think they were Jewish women, but they were trying. One was trying on, and the other one said, how slenderizing is this? So I think there's not going to be help even when we're 95.
Okay. So she's saying, obviously you chose clothing, right? Okay. Any other group chose clothing? Nobody? Okay, great. There's a lot to talk about clothing. One of my pet peeves when it comes to clothing is about the designers. Okay? And I asked the teenager, I said, why is it that you need to wear designers? And she answered me very truthfully. She said it's status. And really, if you want to buy designer, I hear you, and I'm going to confess like she did. I also sometimes buy designer. But really, do we really need that designer name splashed across the front or the back? Okay. And I want to share with you girls a very spooky story. There is a woman who, unfortunately, Hashem should spare us all, but never, her child was knocked down by a bus, Leilani. And she went around speaking because the situation was such that a woman in Monroe, she lost a child, the bus knocked her child over, and they couldn't, Hashem Yerachem, and they couldn't remove the clothing. They had to bury the child with the clothing. And she went around speaking because she said her child was wearing something that said Karl Lagerfeld, Karl Lagerfeld, Karl Lagerfeld, and that's how the child never had to be buried. Could we wear clothing that represents us instead of just doing this? Why are we with free advertisements for the guy? Like it's unbelievable what we're doing. Besides, I took this, I'm going to let you say your thing in a minute. Steve Jobs, the CEO of Apple, those of you who have read his last will, right? So I'm just going to quote some of it. But he says, as we get older and wiser, we slowly realize that wearing a $330 watch both give the same time. Whether we have a $330 wallet or purse, the amount inside is the same. Whether you drive a $150,000 car or a $30,000 car, the road and distance are the same, and we reach the same destination. Okay? So we need to be aware of what we're doing. Let's be honest with ourselves. A lot of it is status, and we're seeking approval, and we're making ourselves feel good with the name that's on there. We're advertising others. Now, again, this is a tremendous nisayon for a lot of us. And I'm there, and I'm in this nisayon with you. I'm being very honest. And I also have teenagers at home, and it's a very big thing. But we're taking this way too far. Karl Lagerfeld, specifically, if we think of the name, it's Lagerfeld, and the proceeds of this company is going to support a neo-Nazi group. What are we doing? Hugo Boss was the personal Schneider of Hitler, Yamach Shemoy. And we are taking all these names and we're wearing them with pride. For whom? For what? So I'm going to listen to you in a minute. Let's give her the microphone.
I heard one of the Rabbi Grams, I'm not sure if it was Rabbi Nechemiah Gram or Rabbi Sadi Grams, was saying that he spoke to a group of high school girls also on this topic about peer pressure and with designers and everything. And he told them, imagine you go to shul on Simchas Torah, and you look down, and they're taking out all the Sefer Torah, and each one has a different mantle. And then you see one of the mantles says Lululemon on it. Wow. He asked the girls, like, is that Sefer Torah like, whoa, the most chashuv one, or like nebuch? So whatever, we're just like, cue point. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah. Okay, so she said that he afterwards added that Lululemon fatty packs are giving us an identity and we can't take it away unless we give something instead. Something on the inside instead, exactly. So we need to figure out what we are supposed to do instead of wearing Lululemon fanny packs. Thank you. Sure.
Something that really you have to be done. Many of these parents and teenagers really don't fathom what they're doing, what it looks like, because they think it's like colorful letters, and they're not putting really any mind to it. So I just want to share, I was on a main street in Williamsburg, and I see a 16-year-old girl. She was one of our students, and she's walking, it was springtime, without her jacket, with a T-shirt, in big boss. And I'm like thinking to myself, this mother, 16-year-old girl walking on the street, boss, like what is she thinking? They're not thinking, they're not fathoming it. It's really, okay, we have to be done.
So I'm going to veer because really I'm running this as a classroom, so I'm not supposed to say this. But we're talking to a group of principals, and who's going to make the difference if not you? So we have to take some, what's her name? Mrs. Miriam Lapidus from Muncie, who Mrs. Hausman's good friend. She has a whole new project that she started, and she said she's making bracelets. End the trend to spend. And the best brand is, do you know what she says? What's the best brand? It's Hashem's command or something like that. I'm quoting her. But if we don't do it as principals and make an awareness in our school, then who's going to do it if we don't? Okay, exactly. So kudos to you. And I want to say, I heard last week, Mrs. Rivka Herman spoke. She's a Balas Tshuva. And she grew up in Bergenfield, New Jersey. And she said that many of the things of tznius that she learned in public school, which is Bergenfield High. She was the only religious girl in a high school of 1,000 girls, of 1,000 children, high schoolers, girls and boys, obviously. But she said that on the... there was a kid that came to school that said on the T-shirt, it said in big letters, "Don't look." And she said, "Why do you write 'don't look' if you don't want, we should look? Obviously you want, we should look." From that, she learned that you don't wear big letters. And if she can understand it coming from where she's coming from, I think a lot of us can understand it, but we're just losing track. So it's an awareness for us to have. So On the chest area, exactly. Or even if it goes throughout the back, splashed across the back, I don't think the chest area is even worse. But, and we've graduated, because when I was growing up, it was Benetton. Remember the United Colors of Benetton? And the very fancy logo that we had was the little horse. What was the thing? Ralph Lauren. And I used to tell my students back then, I used to say, if you're wearing the horse because it's, because of the thing, you're just as smart as a horse. Where are you coming from? I mean, what are you trying to do? But it's up to us really to make that awareness. And again, I'm saying this, I'm going to tone down my notches because I don't mean to hurt Chas v'sholom anybody. And I'm saying it again that I'm in this Nisayan with all of you. And it's something that I'm dealing with all the time, students and children alike, okay? Because it is a trend out there and it's very, very hard, the peer pressure that our students are dealing with. Okay, let's take a look at your number 2. What are you dealing with? Okay. So, Mrs. Frady Berkowitz, number 2 and 3. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know your name. So, number 2 and 3, can you share with us? Why did you choose number 2?
Why we chose Simchas?
Okay.
We chose Simchas.
Okay, so they also chose Simchas, okay.
I could take the mic, but I really
What's
don't
your
know
example?
what to say.
Both the good and the bad.
Okay, why did you choose Simchas? So they also chose Simchas like group number 1. Why did you choose Simchas?
We were talking more of if we would be comfortable presenting a simcha in a very simple takunis-based fashion. If we would, like if you are the first one to have to do such a thing,
Comfortable being the nachshon.
right?
So they were discussing if they would feel comfortable being the first one in their community, making a very low-key simcha with what we call takunis, meaning you cannot do a lot of things. I recently heard this question from someone. She said, I'm making chasana on Thursday night, and I want to make Shabbos Shevi Bruchas on a certain standard, but if I do it in a hall, it's going to be prohibitively expensive. So I'm trying to think if I should do it in the house, but everybody's telling me it's crazy, but because it's the night after the wedding. But if I do it in a hall and I do it on my standard that I can afford, it's going to be such an embarrassing simcha. And she was like trying to get clarity. And I didn't tell her, I didn't say anything. She asked the question to somebody else. I was just standing and listening. But what went through my mind is, why is doing a simple simcha in a hall an embarrassing simcha? Go back. Before you ask the question, Thursday night crazy with the hard work and the house and so on, go back, right? So again, we need to figure out why we're doing this and where we're going. Okay, number 2 for you. So number 2 and 3, Mrs. Rina Zerkier, that's how you pronounce your name? She's not here? Okay, so let's choose somebody else. Mrs. Rosie Shatskis, number 2 and 3. Here you go. No, she's a facility. We're picking chopsticks for answers. Number 2 and 3. You want somebody else? You also did Simchis? Okay, so we're going to move on. Okay, did you also choose Simchis? Wow, I guess we're dealing with a crowd that's really into Simchis. That's where you're at. Okay, how about you? Also Simchis. Okay, we have a lot of work to do. Yes. She chose. You want to tell us why? Sure, thank you.
I didn't choose Simchas, I chose Tefillah because sometimes I wonder how people finish Birkat Hamazon so fast or Shmona Esrei so fast. So what I think is, and I'm talking more about the students, but it could be applied to anyone in the room as well. Like you notice other people are way ahead of you. So you're looking over your shoulder, you start speeding up to finish like around everybody else, and then you're just not concentrating. You're just getting through it, going through the motions.
Okay, so she's saying some people are doing it quickly, some people it's taking forever. Okay, great. Okay, girls, let's take a look at the next thing. I think we're going to try to move. So let's do we'll skip number 4. Yeah, okay, let's do number 5, okay? What does seeking approval do to our character? Okay, let's take another one. Okay, did you have a turn? Yeah? You've spoken, so you can take a turn. Okay.
Smart, thank you.
Number 4, what does it do to our character? Can we have a volunteer?
What does it do to our character? It's not 1 minute. No, it's number 5.
I skipped number 4. Sorry, number 5.
So we're talking about simchas as well. And seeking approval makes us do things that we would not necessarily have chosen to do on our own because we're making a simcha. And she was saying that it is a public thing, and we do want it's the public. Right, but it's public what? These are the people that you're hosting, that you're bringing in, that you want to be mechabed your guests. You're not being mechabed yourself. You want to set it nicely, but people come in, you should notice them, you should be mechabed them, you want there should be what they should eat, but that the party planner should outdo someone else's simcha, that's where it's what's going on. Can I just tell you something that I heard from Rabashkin last Shabbos? Said that we use the word dysfunctional a little bit too freely. And he said, really dysfunctional, right? Everyone. Yeah, we're dysfunctional. So he said like this, dysfunctional depends on what the function is. He said, I had a multi-million-dollar slaughterhouse in Iowa. If you came in there, it was full of blood and feathers and pieces of who knows what all over the place. At night, according to the law, we had to scrub the place spotlessly. Which part of that was the dysfunctional one? The function of a place is to be doing what it's doing, and it should be laying all over the place. It says when they shut the place down and it was spotlessly clean all the time, that was when it was dysfunctional. So we have to remember that.
Thank you. Okay, so we said so you said that, so what you said before, right, so it makes us do things that we wouldn't have been doing otherwise. And what you started saying is that when you want to serve your guests, so then really when you're doing that, you're allowed to do it nicely, but you're also having in mind that you want it should be for your guests. Now that's different than having the party planner outdo other people. That's different than doing makeup till the sky, because that's also trying to impress other people. When you're trying to do enough food so that everybody should go home and they should have enough food to eat, that you're thinking of your guest. I think that's a whole different, that we can understand is not necessarily seeking approval. Okay, could be, but you have to, it's going into a different realm. Okay, number 5. Can anybody volunteer to share with us number 5? What does seeking approval do to your character? Do you have an answer for number 5, or you didn't get there? Sure.
No, she.
So, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai had gewünscht in seine Talmidim, Yehi moire shemayim aleichem ke moire busa v'dam. So, Lamasa, we have an inner force, and it's a very powerful force that we want to project a certain image. So maybe instead of fighting it, we should use the advice of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Maybe we should think of very chusheva people, or people that we look up to, that we want to impress them. Because the desire to create an image and seek approval of people will always exist. Halavai, right? So let's try to think of people that we admire, and these are the kind of people we want to please.
Great. So what you're saying is that we should look at people we admire sort of as a step up, that they're connected to Hashem, they're closer to Hashem. So seek approval of people that are connected to Hashem, that in that way you're going to get to seek approval from Hashem because they're very connected to Hashem, right? Is that what you're saying? I think that's what you're saying. You have something to add? Sure.
One thing I'll add, very similar, is like when I interview staff, and I tell them about the dress code and the expectations that we want from our staff and the level of tznius, which might be a little higher than let's say, the general population. And I always tell them, like, when you dress in the morning, think, how would I appear before a Rav? Would I be embarrassed that I'm wearing this? So it's the same idea. I do it to myself also. Like, would I be embarrassed to wear this if I was going to a Rav or a Rebbetzin?
So what I'll say is that this is a great suggestion to make Hashem very tangible in our lives, because some of us have a hard time imagining Hashem on our level. So if we think of a person who we admire, who's close to Hashem, it's making it a lot more real and tangible to us. What is it that Hashem really wants from us? And instead of seeking approval from other people and people that are our friends, right? Let's seek approval from those that we admire, and like that we get closer. Okay, we're up to your group. Did we do number 5? Okay, number 5. Do you want anybody can volunteer to share? What does it do to us when we... Number 5 is, what does it do to, what does seeking approval do to our character? What does it do to you when you seek approval from other people all the time? You want to take a turn again? No, what does it do to you as a person?
It makes you less of a person.
It makes the other person greater.
It makes you less of a person.
When we seek approval, she's saying it makes you a less of a person. Why is that? Why does it make you less of a person? Thank you. You're mavatal yourself. You don't know who you are anymore. By the time you finish seeking approval of every single person out there, one day you're her, the next day you're her, right? Like we're a chameleon. So she likes this style, so now I want to be friends with her, so let's do this style. Oh, and she doesn't like this, so let's do that. You know, oh, she thinks that this food, you know how it is when you go, I don't know how many of you have lunch or how it works, but you have lunch and one kid comes and says, ugh, and nobody else can eat. Everybody has to go home hungry that day because we're all seeking approval and we're scared to eat because we want to be popular. So you don't even know what we want anymore. What happens if I like the lunch? Right? What happens? So then we can't eat it. My husband always remembers that when there was peas and carrots in his school for lunch, and there was one kid that really liked it, and of course one boy said, ugh, and he always says it was cruelty. You know, one kid said, ugh, and that was the end of it. Nobody was eating. It's cruelty, but that's what happens to us when we're seeking approval, and we cannot break ourselves and say, so what? You don't like it. I have a different opinion. I do like it. That's okay. What's the problem? Yes.
I think all these examples are good, but I think like there's something so much deeper, which is that I think so many of our young people are doing things that are just not healthy because they're seeking the approval of others. And because I think at the end of the day, do you want your child to be able to stand up for what's right? No matter what anyone else says, are they going to do something dishonest because everyone else is doing something dishonest? Like we haven't gotten to the depth of, of where this goes.
When I'm in the classroom, I have to be careful which way I go with that. When I talk to principals, you can say they're doing things that are unhealthy. In the classroom, I have to sort of, I don't want to give anybody ideas. So I'm just trying to give you an example. Okay, we're up to your group, number 5. Not being honest. Okay, so they want to say the same thing of not being honest, that when we seek approval from others, we cannot be honest with ourselves. So again, what does it do to our character? It makes us change. Okay, so let's be real, okay? I'm going to skip number 6 so that we get to move. But let's be very real with ourselves. Many, I'm not going to say all, but many of our actions are driven somewhat, if not completely, by seeking approval. And it's a tremendous innate desire that we have, and it starts from when a baby is born. Think about how we teach a child when a child learns to walk or learns to stand. And what do? We clap. And of course, if we clap, the baby's going to stand up again. And then we clap again. Even as babies, we're seeking that approval. This is something that we're born with. And we crave it so strongly. And the power of finding approval in others is so intoxicating, which, like we said, it totally distorts us, right? It makes sane people do insane things. It makes us into chameleons. It makes us do a lot of other different things. When we say it makes sane people do insane things, like, the woman that let herself down in the barrel, down Niagara, right? So she's trying to get approval and recognition and status. So she's doing something that's totally insane, putting her life in danger just so that she can get approval from others. It makes things that are not important, okay? Like things that, like we said, we start to take a designer name and that becomes all the thing that there is, and we're looking at that. Or we take a sport like baseball or whatever else there is out there. When I was sitting on the plane was delayed this morning, and I'm like trying to doze off, and all of a sudden there's clapping, and right? USA, and I opened up my eyes and said, what was that? Did the plane depart? No, USA won some kind of hockey game or something like that. Oh, that's why you're clapping. I can go back to sleep. But that's what it's doing to us as people. It's making us, this is what's gaining importance, okay? And like we said, it makes us change into chameleons. We are dishonest. We are not true to ourselves, and so on. So now let's understand, why is it that this is so strong, okay? So now if you take a look at your next sheet, which is your reflection sheet, okay? You have your reflections. You can take a look. You can do it together with your group if you want to. No, it's not that one. It's not the colorful chart. It's that one. Yes. It's this one, okay? I'm going to put it up there. It's this one, okay? You can read it to yourself and see if you can come up with the answers to the questions. There are some questions on the sheet. Once you read the quote, there are some questions just to give you food for thought. You could just do it for yourself. Give yourself 2 minutes. Yeah, just read the sheet, and there are some questions on the sheet. No, this one. You want to? Could you wait? Could we do this, and then I'll let you speak? Sure. Okay. I'm just giving you 2 minutes to read the sheet and see if you can think about the questions over there. Okay, so she wants to sum it up in one line. Right, that. Okay, so she's saying stop seeking approval from everybody else. Start seeking approval from the Rebbeinu Shalom, connect to him, and so on. So let's just take this a little bit stronger, right? We all have an emotional desire, right? And this is Rabbi Victor Miller says this. I'm going to read this quote in a minute. But Rabbi Victor Miller says that we all have an emotional desire to be a somebody. Our innermost chambers of our neshama cry out to Hashem. Help me that I become something. My life shouldn't be wasted. And we all want that. That's our innate desire, and that's why we are seeking approval so strongly. And when we seek approval from people, it's the counterfeit attempt, the false attempt of the Yetzer Hara to the gift to find approval for our neshamas, right? Because our neshamas want approval. They want Hashem's approval. But if we're going to do it, if we keep seeking approval from people, we're just conflating, right? The desire that we have to find approval in Hashem's eyes, we're taking it and we're finding approval in people's eyes instead. So, okay, really, unfortunately, so let's take a look at the quote. Okay, I'm just reading the quote. All human beings have an emotional void inside them that needs to be filled. When it is filled with a pleasure, energy, and the sense of well-being that comes from doing what is right, then the approval of others is irrelevant. Anyone who defines his value by what others think of him will essentially be a nobody. You're basically becoming the leopard that, believe it or not, is changing its spots. And then it's no leopard anymore. So you can never satisfy anyone anyway, as we said. And Reb Sadia Gaon takes it one step further, and he says the instinct of COVID that we have is this feeling that we need to be a somebody in Olam Haba. And in Olam Haba, we need to focus on earning Hashem's approval for that. And how do we do that? By doing what's right without recognition. And that will give us true self-respect. And then we will get the real COVID in Olam Haba, right? In Olam Haba, they don't serve sushi, and they don't serve razzles or vacations to Cancun, North California, right? It's not about designer clothes or designer cars. It's about, and this is Rabbi Victor Miller's idea, it's about receiving COVID from Kaviyachal Hashem himself. Every single one of us wants that when we get up there, the Eibishter should nod at us and give us his approval and say, Kaviyachal, job well done. That's what we really want. So when we're seeking approval from everybody else, we're just negating that. So like we said before, if you think about somebody that you admire, and like that you're seeking approval, right? You're seeking approval from somebody that you admire, it's a step up to Hashem. Like that you get the real thing. Now, how do we do that? How do we train ourselves to really seek approval from Hashem and not seek approval from people? Any volunteer? How do we train ourselves to seek approval from Hashem and not seek approval from people? It takes years. It's an avodah for of a lifetime. I agree with that. But you have something to say?
There are many Gedolei Yisrael that when the question comes up regarding taking a Kabbalah for the new year, and people want to do grand things, and they say the best way for you to really grow is to take something that you already do, take something small, and work on perfecting that and making it better. So by taking smaller things and working on them, making actual change, you give yourself the koach to then take on bigger things. It becomes your new pattern of behavior. So I'm going through this journey now in the last 6 months with the head cover. And the moment that I came to the understanding that there is a real problem with the shaitels, there was this feeling in the pit of my stomach because I didn't want to give up my hair, what it looks like everybody else is wearing it. But there was the other feeling in my heart and in my stomach that kept gnawing away at me that there is a problem with it. So now what am I going to do? Am I going to do what I think Hashem wants from me? Or am I going to be scared of what I look like to everybody else? And that is how I felt coming here. I knew I'm going to be the only one. And I felt, it's like not in my character that I would even say it out loud right now. It's like a moment like, whoa. Because I never, ever thought I would give it up. Ever. But here I am.
Now you said something before, but I don't recall, something to this effect that you mentioned, that how is it that we get to train ourselves to seek approval from Hashem and not from others, but I can't remember. I know you said something, but I can't remember the quote. Right?
It's okay.
She doesn't like the mic? Right. Just stop because I want to say it out loud because you don't want to use the mic. She's saying by the Eved Ivri, why is it that over there we drill a hole into his ear and not by when he doesn't want to be, an Eved Hashem, right? Right. Why don't we do this with any other Avera? Okay. Right. Right. Okay, so you're right. We want approval only from Hashem, but how do we go about training ourselves that we shift? We have to sort of shift away from looking at people to trying to be avodim from Hashem and thinking about Him, and that's a very tough shift for a lot of us, including myself. So how do we do that?
I think that unintentionally sometimes as teachers, we feed this with the best of intentions by giving our students approval in a very external way. And I mean, in the worst form, it's, surprises and motivators, but even just like they're seeking our approval when really they should be seeking that feeling internally that they did the right thing. So instead of saying like, you did a good job, yay, like you should be so proud of yourself. You really mastered that. You worked hard. Like words of affirmation that feed them to, our talk is mirrored in their minds. It becomes their self-talk. So instead of it being an external approval from us, they could be seeking approval from their friend. They could be seeking approval from us. And it's not so much, when we're talking about like turning away from gaiva, neither is the best. The best would be seeking approval from Hashem and that internal feeling, that internal motivation that we're doing the right thing. So to train them with our language, like you should be so proud of yourself. That was really hard and you pushed through and you did it.
I liked your second sentence better than your first because it's not just that you should be so proud of yourself, it's you should be so proud of yourself that you pushed yourself so hard. In other words, see the quality, the internal quality that the child had rather than say or did. Right, so that she can take this further, right? And again, build on that, what she did, that if you see the strength in her and you say this was your strength, so now she knows, this is my strength and I can take this further. Yes.
Okay, we spoke earlier in the afternoon about a taiva for self-expression, and I'm beginning to wonder if I'm about taiva because it's the second time I'm taking the mic today. So Chafach bin ich der größte Baltave, but I want to answer the question of how we can train them to seek approval from Hashem. As this new friend of mine mentioned, that it's very lofty for children to be driven by wanting to please Hashem, and we have to find like a simpler kind of mushal to get them there. So in my very simple, humble words, I think most girls can relate to the pleasure and the sipik of doing the right thing in the right time. There is a certain pleasure of doing the right thing in the right time that everyone can relate to, which is the derech Hashem and the derech HaTorah.
Thank you. So I want to take this one step further, and that's why you have your action logs, okay? These are your action logs. This is about doing something that we're doing in private. Okay, Rabbi Victor Miller says this also. He says 10 steps to greatness. One of the things is we do something every single day that nobody else knows about. That's how we can make that shift. That we can say, I'm doing this and I'm only doing it for Hashem because nobody else is going to know anything about it. So this is homework, okay, for the next 2 days, and really it comes for the whole week, but I only gave you day 1 and day 2. You think of something in advance, an intentional act that you are going to do, whether it's that you are going to do, and this is going to be your private act that you are going to do just because you want Hashem's approval. And then you mark it down and you mark yourself. And the other thing that I thought about that also helps us shift, which may be hard for young kids, but maybe easier for older kids, that if we do the right thing and you get flack, to accept it. Because if you know you did the right thing and somebody could have said, whatever, you accept it. And I want you to know that since I'm teaching this and this is reverberating in my head, a lot of this is like coming to the fore. And I had a very interesting experience. I had somebody, a relative of mine in my family, that borrowed something and it was supposed to go back at a certain time. And whatever, they got busy with something else and the time was fast approaching and they still needed the thing. And I'm like holding my mouth because it wasn't in my place to say anything, but I really was very bothered by the fact that it wasn't returned on time. And I knew that really I'm supposed to be quiet, like that's the right thing, but it sort of rankled because the right thing is to return it, right? To make sure if you buy something, you return it on time. And yet it's not in my place to say anything, so I was like very bothered. And then I started asking myself questions. I said, why is it the right thing to return something on time? What do I want here? And as I was asking myself questions, I realized that if we don't return it on time, I feel that people are going to look at me like I'm not honest, or I'm not, I'm verschleppt, or whatever it is. So really, when I started saying, and then I said, and when I do that, so whose approval am I seeking? When I say this is the right thing to do to return it on time, is it really the right thing to do to return it on time? Or my whole right thing that I'm doing to return it on time is actually seeking approval from other people? And right in that situation, I'm not going to say always, sometimes it's chinuch, sometimes it's different things. But in this situation that I was, the right thing was to actually keep quiet, because that's what Hashem wanted from me then. So sometimes we have to realize that when we say it's the right thing to do, ask yourself another question and say why, and then ask yourself another question, and then you'll see that maybe sometimes the right thing to do is only because really it's right because you want other people to approve of what you're doing, but it may not be exactly what Hashem wants you to do at that moment. So yes, so that's how we shift. We shift because we start to think about private things that we can do, about not focusing on the feedback that we need, the positive feedback. Even if you get flack, it's fine. And the Torah is very clear about this, that let's say when we talk about Miriam, I'm just going to give one example so that we can move on. When we talk about Miriam Hanaviah, we know that the first time things are mentioned in the Torah, that's the essence. Now when we think about Miriam Hanaviah and we think about things that she did, we know she did so many things, right? She led the Eden in song after Kriyas Yamsef, and she was standing there for Moshe Rabbeinu, waiting for, by him over there by the Nilas. But the first time she's mentioned in the Torah is she's called Piu, right? Shepiu v'hoigel avlad, right? Shepiu m'daberes, I'm sorry, v'hoigel avlad, because she was there in the privacy, in the quiet, as she was being nice to the babies. That's not something that she did in public. That's not something that others knew about, but that's her greatness and that's her essence, because that's where she's mentioned in the Torah the first time. So we need to train ourselves to get into that habit of doing things for for Hashem in private. And of course, if we do one thing at a time, then hopefully it'll accumulate and we'll get better and better at it. So now let's do one more thing before we get to our project. What happens when others notice what I did and they give me positive feedback? And we're going to do a thing, peer share. You could do it with your group. I'm not going to, let's do. What happens when others do notice I did something and others do notice that I did it and they're giving me positive feedback and they're telling me what a great thing I did? So is there a problem with that? No, it's not a problem. Okay. So what's the issue with that? So it's not an issue. But what's the difference? When you get positive feedback, it's after the fact. The difference is if you do it for the approval or if you're just getting after you did whatever you did, you're getting positive feedback. That helps us all. It motivates us all to grow and to keep going, right? But we're not doing it for the approval. And that's why when we say in the Shchodesh bench and we say, we ask Hashem for Chaim Shel Oisher V'Choved. Why are we asking for a life of Koved if we're not supposed to be seeking approval? And the answer is because we're asking that Hashem should grant us the schis, that we should be doing things in our life that we should deserve the Koved. Not that we're doing it for the Koved, but hopefully we should be doing things that are right in our life, right? So that we get the Koved. And of course, we want the Koved from the eventually more than anything else. So I think that we're going to stop right here and we're going to hand out the oak tags and we're going to do our sound bite. Remember our driving question? We're going to come up with a 2-line something per group that sums up something that we spoke about today. And if you can put pictures on it, even better if you can draw a picture, and then we will hang it up. Okay, here, you could take an oak tag and think of something. Thank you. Oops. Go. Okay, so if you can think of any 2-line something that sums up what we said today, and if you can put on, you have it already, and if you could put on a picture, even better. Shall we go back to the driving? You know what? Let me give you the driving question. That gives you the driving question if you want to take a look at it again. Driving question, if that helps you. Go. There you go, driving question. If you want to take a look at the driving question, here you have it. This is your driving question. Okay, I'll give you 5 minutes to come up with your sound bite, and then we'll need to move on because I want to sum it up. Should we just hang up the driving questions and not go through it and just let me sum up? Like, tell me time-wise. Or you want I should pick up everybody's? Yeah, you do. Or just hang it up on the wall and just, I should sum it up. You want me to let everybody do that? What? Yeah, I want to take it up and then I just want to sum up. You know? Okay. Exactly. Okay. That's what I want to do. Take any topic that we spoke about, or either one of the things from the top of the seeking approval sheet, and just think of something that has to do with Kava or about the things like clothes, what it does to us, or anything that we discussed, all the things that we went through. You can either do a quote like as a 2-line poem, or you could do just a cute quote or anything or anything. Yes, whatever you want.
How long does it take you to prepare for your lessons?
Okay, we'll talk about that afterwards. if you want, I can give you one that I came up with, but I'm not sure if I. You should think. You should. Yes.
We didn't go through this sheet. You didn't go through.
I didn't, because the reason why I didn't is because I did that, like I said, I started by saying that I did this last week. I'll say it when I sum up, that really this infographic chart belongs to questions from the lesson before. And I do that. Okay, so I'll take all the questions. Well, let me first do the sound bites, I'll sum it up, and then you can ask me all the questions you want. Excellent, girls. That was a very good quote. So who's able to draw, is willing to draw? You have your quote? You have your sound bite? Okay, good. As long as you have it, girl. You're working on it. Great. Do you have your quote, or you're still working on it? Your sound bites? Good. Okay. All done? I'm not going to be going through and reading it. I need to sum up. So we do need tape. I want to hang it up. Oh, actually, put your group number on top, maybe. Or it doesn't really matter. Just put. We should really do some tape, something to hang it up. Thank you. You can not just do self-content, you can do self-confidence too. So I think that when you keep seeking approval, you don't have the confidence in yourself.
So you want to say self-esteem in a way that is not misused in public.
Self-esteem, that's okay. Self-esteem is another topic that we need to discuss. This is our next. It's an outgrowth of this, exactly.
Self-esteem is an outgrowth of believing that I'm doing the right thing at the right time.
Next, after I talk about taking credit. Right, so that is why one of my next lessons.
This is our.
Right, and you have this chart, right? And I also take the time to do a lesson on self-esteem. Meaning, once I do the taking credit piece, then I take a lesson about self-esteem,
I want to say that when
and I make it very clear.
Down, self-content goes up. That's what we're trying to
Okay, so it's very clear. It's very clear from your picture.
But we have to stay in touch. I think I want to teach it. Which grade do you do it?
Okay, we'll talk about it. All the questions I'll take afterwards, okay? I like that, but is that where you're going to stay? Oh, we will do, you're looking at it as a positive thing. Oh, okay, I didn't see that. I'm sorry. Excellent. We will do what's right where no one's in sight. Great. Okay, great. So if you're ready, girls, with your project, if you're done with your poster, then we're going to be hanging it up. Okay? Every single one, we're going to be hanging it up, and then we'll sum up. Let's give it to Mrs. Goldberg. Thank you. Here, Mrs. Goldberg. Okay, she's writing. Excellent. Are you almost done? You're done? Great. You want to do a picture? Or none of you are artistic? You want to try to do a stick figure? Approval needs to be earned through pure intentions and proper actions. Excellent. Okay. You want to do something? Oh, you're putting up as it? Great. Here you go. I don't know which one. I'm not sure what they would. Okay, are you done?
Almost.
Okay, so let's finish up. Good. That's part of PBL. We want you to color. It's not hanging?
Because we're going up.
Okay, so should I just should I sum up before I hang it up? You want I should go around and read it? Okay. You know what, girl? I'm going to read it because it's not hanging on the wall. So don't take pride, take pleasure. That was one group. No, table 2. Okay, let's read another one. Approval needs to be earned through pure intentions and proper actions. Excellent. Okay. This group wrote, doing what I know I should makes me feel internally good. Excellent. And they put a seesaw, okay, which shows that it's a balance. It goes one up, one goes up, one goes down. Okay, it's approval seeking versus self-content and confidence, up and down. Okay, excellent. Okay, are you ready? Anybody else is done? They're still coloring, and are you done? Are you done? Can I read it? Thank you. Okay, so they made a door. Let's take a sneak peek in Mishpachas Hamatz's house, I guess, right? Okay, are you seeing that? It's the door. Okay. We will do what's right when no one's in sight. Okay. And if we practice it continuously, then we will do it even when people are in sight. We'll get used to it. Right. Okay. Remember your call, don't fall to please all. Okay. Earn Hashem's approval. Excellent. Okay. And we have one more. Let's take one more. Okay, so can I just read it because I want to sum up, and then I'll let you color. Good. Okay, don't do it for them. Do it for Hashem. Excellent. Sure, I'll give it to you. You can continue doodling in my classroom. I allow that. Okay, so to sum it up. Okay, I hope you now experienced a little bit of the beauty of Sheish Mitzvahs with PBL. And the beauty is collaborative learning. Okay, upon reviewing the curriculum, and I just got Mrs. Reifer showed up at my door one day, and she dropped me off the new curriculum, and I have to say, it's a work of art, and it's a work of heart. And the content, as you see, is so applicable to our daily lives. I hope you realize that I do this in a classroom in 11th grade, and I have the girls arguing, and I really appreciate when the girls are very riled up. That's my goal. I want them to argue, because when they argue and they go back and forth, then I know I've reached them. They took it with them. And I don't know if you are watching, because I was walking around, but you are a room of adults, and you're all principals, and you are all arguing back and forth. And that's really the point of PBL, of collaborative learning, that you all share your ideas and you discuss it, and then you come up with something and you come to a consensus, and then you did the project at the end. This poster is the project at the end. Now, of course, in the classroom, you could do it a little bit more, you could do smaller, you could do less, and also realize that I do the pop sticks system. I do this now. I'm sorry, it took me here a little bit longer because it's a bigger room. I don't know your names, and I have to sort of figure it out. But in the classroom, this works 1, 2, 3, and the girls are used to it, and they know I do a pop stick system. So nobody can be angry at me. I didn't pick on anybody. All I do is I go 1, 2, 3, group 1, 1, 2, 3, group 2, and I just leave the groups on my desk so in case anybody forgets, and then we just pick names, and I just pick out one, and they answer. What'd you say? What? Yes, I do. With the girls in class, yes, I do collect the pop sticks and I reuse them. Now, all of the colored copies that you see here is Amatz's curriculum. Okay, so we made color copies because they wanted it. The other sheets I added, and so the reason why I added the chart at the beginning is because I felt that it gives a lot of clarity to the double bays, like why we have it. It just sort of is very visual. It was when I was reading the curriculum a few times, it wasn't as clear. Once I did it on the chart, I found it was much clearer. And I also did this sheet because the seeking approval sheet, the activity that I did, because I wanted the girls to really apply to their daily lives how much we are actually seeking approval in every single thing that we do. But really, the credit goes to our mats because really they are the base of what I'm working with, and I wouldn't be able to do this without them. And to finish off, I just want to share with you, as I was walking around in the classroom and I was doing the sheets, I will share with you some of what my students said. So one girl said to me, she said, "Do we ever not seek approval?" Maybe in private. So she got it. She got it right there. And this was a kid that hardly ever spoke, is not a very academically inclined kid at all. I don't hear her much at all. And it was very interesting to me that she was able to come up with this. She really thought about it. She said, maybe in private. So I said, great, that's exactly where we're heading to. Because really, yes, when we're in the privacy of wherever it is, our homes or whatever it is, it's much easier to do things and not seek approval. One of the kids was very busy. She wanted to know if status is the same thing as seeking approval. And even though we could sort of separate it, but I put it as together because really, why do we want status if not because we want coveted recognition from others? One of my students told me, she says, wow, she said, you know, we can even wear sneeze clothing because we're seeking approval. Now that was very deep, and it's true. So the question is, why are we doing what we're doing? Another one of my students, okay, maybe, but it's right. Maybe it's seeking approval from the right people. So the question is, what and how we're doing it. Another girl told me in 11th grade, she said, we thought that in 11th grade we're so past seeking approval and davening, but who davens for others, she told me. But then we realized, many of us do. So that's what Mrs. Reifer said. A lot of us are doing this, right? Because we're doing it for others. Some are really connecting to Hashem. And you should know that even Rabbi Victor Miller, when I was reading, was very interesting. He also says that we can shuckle away and we can mean somebody else. We don't mean Hashem at all. So he says it, not me. And there's definitely, yes, mitoich shaloi lishma bu lishma, which is what I told one of the groups there, that it's true that if we do it, not the right intentions, hopefully we'll get to do it with the right intentions. But let's be honest with ourselves and ask ourselves that question. Okay, so hopefully with maturity, right, we're growing up. Okay, so I think that all these comments and what you just saw speak for themselves, right? Need I say more? I thank you for listening. I thank you for being so cooperative, and I thank you for inviting me. And if you have any questions, I'm willing to answer. The few of you wanted to know certain things, now I'm willing to answer. Thank you.